Welcome to this episode of Uplifting News Sleep Aid Daily, where we read you good news to fall asleep to. Today is Thursday, April 9th, 2020. Our uplifting stories today include: the Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy are deemed essential workers by New Zealand's Prime Minister. A Georgia bar owner removes stapled cash from the walls from her bar to give to unemployed staff. How the Jewish community is celebrating Passover with Virtual Seders on Zoom, also known as Zeders. And how hitchhiking birds are helping endangered rhinos. Now, breathe in. Breathe out. And relax as we dive into these stories. Our first story is from travelandleisure.com by Alison Fox. New Zealand Prime Minister deems Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy essential workers, an adorable message to kids. The Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy are officially considered essential workers, in New Zealand at least. The country's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern reassured the children of New Zealand at a news conference on Sunday that both mythical creatures were absolutely considered essential, but added they might be a little busy right now. You'll be pleased to know that we do consider both the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny to be essential workers. But as you can imagine at this time, of course they're going to be potentially quite busy at home with their family as well as their own bunnies, Ardern said. And so I say to the children of New Zealand, if the Easter Bunny doesn't make it to your household, then we have to understand that it's a bit difficult at the moment for the bunny to perhaps get everywhere. While holidays like Easter may fall right in the middle of the COVID-19 global pandemic, forcing many to remain in their homes, Ardern suggested a socially distant Easter egg hunt in keeping with the spirit of the season. And to help, she posted a template on her Instagram page that people could color and place in their windows for kids to find. New Zealand is currently under a level 4 on their COVID-19 alert system, which means people must stay home except for essential movement like going to the supermarket or outdoor exercise where you're at least 2 meters or about 6 feet away from other people, according to the government's Unite Against COVID-19 program. There have been more than 1,100 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in New Zealand, according to Johns Hopkins University, which tracks the spread of the virus. Dealing with the coronavirus pandemic is hard for anyone, but can be especially difficult for kids. And Ardern wasn't alone in talking directly to the youngest citizens. Last month, Norway's Prime Minister Erna Solberg held a news conference specifically to address children and their fears during these harrowing times. Many children think it is scary, Solberg said, according to Reuters. It is okay to be scared when so many things happen at the same time. Solberg then took time to answer kids' questions, like if they could have a birthday party or visit their grandparents. By being home, you are helping other people not be contaminated and get sick, she told them. It is important for those who already have a disease or who are very old. Our next story is from CNN.com by Amanda Jackson. A Georgia bar owner removed $3,714 worth of bills stapled to the walls to give to her unemployed staff. Before the coronavirus pandemic, Jennifer Knox would walk into her bar and soak in the sounds of people chatting while sipping on their drinks and listening to local musicians strum along on their guitars. Now, her restaurant, the Sandbar, located in Tybee Island, Georgia, is quiet with no customers or employees in sight. Like many other restaurants, the Sandbar had to close its doors after officials put stay-at-home orders in place and mandated restaurants switch to takeout and delivery only. The restrictions, put in place to help control the spread of the virus, also left businesses, including Knox's, struggling financially. We were sitting there, doors locked, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's money on the walls and we have time on our hands, she told CNN, referring to the bar's decor. We gotta get this money down. For nearly 15 years, patrons have been leaving their mark on the island bar by writing on a dollar bill and stapling it on the walls and ceilings. Knox just celebrated her 6-year anniversary of owning the bar. Knox, who worked as a bartender at the bar for 7 years before owning it, now runs the bar with her mother, Pam Hessler. "I can't just sit here and do nothing," Knox said of the decision to take down the dollar bills to try and help her employees. "I'll do what I can for my people." Over the next 3.5 days, 5 volunteers took on the tedious task to help gently take down the weathered money. Some bills had dozens of staples in them, according to Knox. Some of the currency came from countries across the globe. After the bills were taken down, it took about a week and a half to clean them off and get them counted. In total, $3,714 were collected, and the stacks of bills stretched in piles across the entire countertop. After hearing about Knox's act of giving back, several customers donated to the cause. In total, Knox was able to distribute $4,104 to her staff. 4 bartenders and 2 musicians were each given $600, she said. Tybee Island, one of Georgia's most popular vacation destinations, depends on beachgoers to keep the town's economy alive. The town has a population of about 3,000 people. Knox said that March was the beginning of their busy season coming out of winter. Now, like everywhere else, their business is on hold, and Knox remains unsure of what the future holds. In the spirit of giving, one of the bartenders decided to donate her portion to another Tybee Island bartender. Knox wants to continue to give back to the small island's service staff. She is still collecting donations to distribute. "We all look out for each other," she said. "We're all in this together." Knox said she is hopeful that the sandbar will reopen when all is over. When patrons do return to have a cold beverage after relaxing on the beach, they'll notice a fresh coat of bright-colored paint replace the wallpaper of dollar bills. While Knox is unsure if stapling the money on the walls will continue, she said she is thinking of a different plan for customers to leave their mark. This podcast is hosted on Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free, there's creation tools to allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. Our next article is from abc10.com by Samantha Solomon. Cyber Seder. Jewish community celebrates Passover amid coronavirus. Passover is a celebration about overcoming adversity. As such, congregates rose to the challenge of staying in touch. You can add a new word to the Jewish lexicon, and it's Zeder, as in Zoom Seder. This is how several congregations and organizations are observing Passover this year during the coronavirus pandemic. It's all virtual. Families and congregations will be doing their best and sort of muddling through the technological components to bring families together and allow them to participate in Seders as best they can digitally, said Willie Recht, CEO of the Jewish Federation of the Sacramento region. There could be hundreds of thousands of Zeders happening tonight across the country and across the world. Many congregations in Sacramento have put together virtual Seders to mark the beginning of Passover. One such example is Congregation Beth Shalom, CBS, in Carmichael. "We knew that Passover, particularly, is such a time of gathering," said Carol Schreiber, administrator for Congregation Beth Shalom. "It was going to be difficult, and we needed to do something to support, so cyber was really the only way for us to go." On April 9th, the second night of Passover, CBS is hosting a Cyber Seder via Zoom. This event is open to everyone, but will include traditional services from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. In an announcement for the event, an uplifting message reads, "The Red Sea couldn't stop our people, and neither will COVID-19. It's all in keeping with the overall theme of Passover, Overcoming Adversity. It's different for us, obviously, but exciting, Schreiber said. We're just concerned with supporting our community. How do we stay in touch when we're supposed to be so out of touch? It's a difficult situation, but places of worship like CBS are finding the silver lining amid the coronavirus pandemic. Both CBS and the Jewish Federation in Sacramento have already added a number of resources on cyber living. CBS is adding new online programs every day. Passover commemorates the Israelites' escape from the Egyptian slavery and is about perseverance, which is why Virtual Seder is almost fitting for the occasion. However, though moving services online is essentially for staying in touch, it opens up a new avenue of issues. Those of Jewish faith observe certain traditions during Passover, especially when it comes to the food. Kosher food is of course a must, but unleavened bread is also an essential part of the holiday. We raised money, an emergency campaign, because there's lots of seniors in the community without family, Recht said. Maybe they're homebound, maybe they don't live in a community. So many of them can't access Passover food. They're not going to be a part of a Seder. Seder is typically celebrated with a large group of people. Some congregations host gatherings of hundreds of folks. There are prayers, songs, and food. As such, social distancing has alienated members of the community who have no other means to participate in these cultural and religious events. How will seniors and those at risk be able to obtain the necessary foodstuffs? The Jewish Federation of Sacramento turned to home deliveries, focusing on bringing kosher foods and matzah to those in need. We wanted to make sure even those homebound seniors, the people who might not have a way to participate either digitally or in person, had a little bit of Passover with them, Rick said. Since seniors in particular may not have access to the technology or the know-how necessarily for a Zeder, Congregation Beth Shalom also brainstormed some solutions. We, the rabbi and members of our congregation, since we decided we were going this way, have been physically making phone calls to people and walking them through, Schreiber said. We sent our Haggadah, the link to our Cyber Seder, out via email to our entire congregation and the local Jewish community in the area. Schreiber acknowledges that not everyone is on their computer, which is why reaching out via phone is so important. This is also something we started to do way before we even thought of a Cyber Seder, and we will continue to do while members of our community are in this quarantine situation. Email is one thing, Schreiber states, but hearing somebody's voice and making sure they're okay is another thing entirely. That's what makes a difference. She identifies these phone calls as soul checks and says the initiative was mostly geared towards seniors because Zoom meetings are still very new to many older folks. For both Schreiber and Recht, one thing is clear: the Jewish community will rally and remain strong during this uncertain time. I think that this situation has really brought out a very true and genuine sense of kindness within everybody, and willingness and wantingness to check in on people and connect with people in a way that wasn't happening, Recht said. Though many things have changed in the last few weeks, the community moves ever forward. We've always been a very tight community, and a particularly supportive community, even outside of the Jewish community. We're very interfaith-oriented, Schreiber said. It's wonderful, once again, to watch this larger community come together and support each other across the lines of religion. Our last article is from sciencenews.org by Gloria Dickey. Hitchhiking oxpeckers warn endangered rhinos when people are nearby. Red-billed oxpeckers hitching rides on the backs of black rhinos are a common sight in the African bush. The birds are best known for feeding from lesions full of ticks or other parasites on a rhino's hide. But new research suggests that the relationship between the two species is much more mutualistic. Shouty and shrill oxpeckers can serve as an alarm bell, alerting black rhinos to the presence of people, scientists report April 9th in Current Biology. That could help the endangered animals evade poachers, the researchers propose. Rhinos are as blind as bats, explains Rowan Plotz, a behavioral ecologist at Victoria University in Melbourne, Australia. Even in close proximity, a rhino might struggle to notice lurking danger by sight. But the oxpecker easily can, unleashing a sharp call to warn of intruders. In South Africa's Hulhulwe Imfolozi Park, Plotz and his colleague Wayne Linklater of California State University, Sacramento, approached 11 black rhinos by foot on the open plain on 86 occasions. The team found that those rhinos with a red-billed oxpecker tagging along were much better at detecting the researchers' presence than those without. Rhinos without oxpeckers on their back were able to detect our approaches just 23% of the time, whereas rhinos with oxpeckers detected them every single time, Plotz says. Rhinos listening to an oxpecker's heads up also picked up on the approaching scientists from 61 meters away, more than twice as far as when the rhinos were alone. All rhinos responded to the oxpecker's alarm calls by being vigilant, standing up from a resting position, for example, and turning to face downwind, their sensory blind spot. The rhinos then either ran away or walked downwind to investigate the potential danger. Black rhinos were once the most numerous species of rhino in the world, but poaching for traditional Chinese medicine has devastated the species. Though poaching has slowed since its peak in 2015, just 5,500 black rhinos remain in the wild, and conservationists are searching for solutions that could permanently protect the critically endangered species. The red-billed oxpecker has also declined. The birds feed on ticks, including those burrowed in cattle. But for decades, farmers treated their livestock with pesticides to kill the parasites. This inadvertently transferred the poison to oxpeckers, causing them to die out in some regions of Africa. In turn, many black rhinos must navigate the landscape without their avian companions. Given the study's findings, Plotz thinks conservationists should consider reintroducing oxpecker sentinels to rhino populations. The oxpeckers are clearly adding a new depth and dimension to rhino awareness levels, says animal ecologist Joe Shaw, Africa Rhino Program Manager at World Wildlife Fund South Africa. This emphasizes the further complex webs between species within ecosystems and the need for conservationists to work to ensure all functions remain intact. That's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us at Uplifting News Sleep Aid Daily. Hag Sameach. Stay safe and stay inside.